Hey, what's up, Speedy's Garage gang? Welcome back to the Speedy's Garage channel. Obviously out on a little field trip today. I'll get more into that in a second, but I love getting out and driving this Demon 170 around. It's been, some of you said, well, how come you haven't been to the track? The weather this year has been insane. It has rained every single weekend that I can remember. Beach Bend is actually flooded twice, believe it or not. I think once in March and again, maybe twice in March, or once in March and once in April. And a lot of their racing events were rained out. I think we have set records here in my part of the world. We've had more rain since they've even started keeping records. So, like, way more. And if I heard the guy right on the news the other night, we are like 19.5 inches above normal for the year, and it's only June. So we're only halfway through the year and we're already 19.5 inches for the year above normal. So that's why I haven't been out to the track in the 170 in a while. I do have the new front skinnies. They're a little bit lighter, and I was just goofing around, you know, when I took it the last time, just still getting to know the car, and ran, you know, 920s, you know, pretty easy with a foot brake launch, not even using the trans brake. So I am anxious to get back out to the track to kind of see what we can do with the car. And Beach Bend is doing a new really cool racing series called Wild Street, and you basically have to prove it's a street car, real glass, registration, insurance. You do a 25-mile drive around Bowling Green, and then you come back and you race. And that sounds like a really fun class to put this car in. So Crew Chief Greg and I are definitely looking at getting into that. But I think every single, all but one, they were going to run like 5 or 6 of those for the spring, and I believe all but one rained out. They may do some more this fall, and I'm hoping I can get into a couple of those. But let's get into why we're out on this field trip. So if you've been following along on the 170, you know that there were some early reports of misfires and some other odd things. Now, oddly, this car has never had a single problem. I've data logged it. I've shared that with you guys that follow the channel. I showed you where I went to the track and ran several passes and had 0 misfires. Street driving, 0 misfires. Did a day log on that too. I've never had a problem with mine. However, Stellantis, Dodge, whatever you want to call them, has decided to do a customer, they're not calling it a recall, they're calling it a customer satisfaction bulletin, where they are replacing the spark plugs. So I'm headed to get that done today down at my local dealer, Freeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. My buddy is the master tech over there. He's the only one that's certified to work on the Demon, so he'll be the one doing the work, and I did request that specifically. So I am going to go see about getting the spark plugs replaced. The parts are in. They only took a couple of days. I'm curious to see what's in the box, and I do want to check gap on the new plugs, and I want to check the gap on the old plugs to compare. If I remember right, I think the ones in it are 32 or 34. It's been a minute since I checked them, but that is a wide gap. This car makes 21, 22 pounds of boost, and that is a little bit of a wider gap than I would have put in the car if I were designing them. I think, you know, back on previous supercharged cars, I'd run like a 0.028 to 0.030, so somewhere in that range. I'm expecting the new plugs to be 0.028, so we're going to see what those look like. And I'm also curious if it's the same Champion plug that they went with. I heard a bunch of basically rumors. They weren't sure. You know, the rumor was they asked Bosch to make a plug. They couldn't do a heat range test, and Champion happened to have one, but it was a one-off plug only for the Demon. So a lot of people have switched out to an NGK 2309. So that's a really good plug. I've ran those before. So if there weren't a customer satisfaction bulletin, or if I were having a problem, the 2309s are probably what I would go with, gapped at 0.028. But since there's one available at the dealer, and some of these, when they went to take the plugs out, they were over torqued in the head, and I don't want to take a chance on having to deal with that. I'd rather that be happening at the dealer if you know, heaven forbid, there is something like that going on. So that's another reason I'm going to drop it off and just let them take care of it. So let's get to it. While I was here, I thought I would take a look around. I only see one Hornet. They had one in the showroom. Oh, here's a couple more. I did not see any Chargers, the EV ones, at all. A bunch of Jeeps and a bunch of Ram 1500s, but the ones I looked at window stickers, they're still all the 6-cylinder, the inline turbo 6. So kind of interesting that there are no Charger EVs on the dealer lot at all. So we're headed back. The job is complete, and I did talk to my buddy who's, like I said, the master tech down there. He said that's a pretty pain in the butt job to do, especially on the passenger side. There's a wiring harness inside of a plastic box that makes space pretty tight. You can kind of see there, I'll show you kind of some of what it looked like. He told me the book time for this job was 1.7 hours, and he said no freaking way. He said he doesn't know how they came up with that. I kind of felt a little bad for him because, you know, the way mechanics work, they get paid on book time in a lot of cases. So I went by and got him a nice bottle of whiskey for tonight because I figured he might want a sip after doing that spark plug job. We looked at the original spark plugs and they looked good. The gaps were all around 0.032 to 0.033. And then on the new ones, they came pre-gapped and they were really close, but he double checked them and set them to 0.024. So he said that was listed as optimal in his documentation. So that's what the new ones are set to. Car idles fine, it's driving fine. Here in a minute, if I can get to an open space in Mexico, we're gonna give it the beans and make sure it's good all the way through the rev range. But it's complete. I'm glad to check that box. And while he had the car, I asked him to take a look at the harmonic balancer that's on the end of the crank. There have been a couple, or 3 or 4, where some of the bolts have backed out on the back side of that balancer, and they gouge up the front timing cover on the engine, and then the balancer has to be replaced and the timing cover has to be replaced. He took a look at mine, double checked. He said it's everything he could see. The front ones are super tight. He said he checked those. The back ones, obviously, you can't get a wrench on, but he said he could not see any indication that they were backing out at all. So I did at least have a look at that, and that's something I will keep an eye on at every oil change. And one other thing I saw while I was there is there was a Jeep, I think it's called a Grand Wagoneer, and it had one of the inline 6 twin turbo motors. And I noticed it was on the lift, and I'll show you a picture here. The entire body was removed from the chassis. And I asked what was going on with it, and it needed a motor replacement. And they said that it is a body off job. And there were parts scattered all over the place. I don't know how, as a technician, you would ever remember where every bolt and piece went. But it looked like a super involved job. So that honestly is not good news for those inline 6 engines. I don't know about those. I had heard rumors that there had been some problems with them, but now I've seen one firsthand, so not good. Well, that was a baby pull and everything felt just fine. I did make a couple of others deeper in Mexico. Ignore the clinging. Those are some wobbly extensions that I took just in case the technician found them helpful. The car's running great, so I think everything's good. It was running so good, I'll be honest, I was hesitant to change the spark plugs because I wasn't having any problems, but I didn't want to wait and find out that there was one and, you know, the TSB or whatever they're calling it not be available anymore or whatever. So I'm glad I went ahead and got that swapped out and it's running great. Now I've got to get back to the track, make sure it's as fast or faster as it was before, but it's going to be a minute for that. It is middle of summer and going to the drag strip in 100-degree heat, I'm getting past that at my point in life. So it'll probably be September, maybe Mo Party this fall before I get back out there. Now let's get back to the shop. I'm back at the shop. Let's take a look. My buddy is excellent. So if you are in or anywhere near the Middle Tennessee area, I would recommend you take your Demon to Freeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. He is the master tech and the only one that works on the Demons. So as you can see, and I watched him torque the spark plugs to 22 foot-pounds. So he is very particular about the work that he does, and has been doing it a really long time, and everything looks exactly like it's supposed to. And if this is something you are going to try to tackle yourself, I recommend a set of these, and I'll leave a link to these in the description. It's a spark plug socket that is a wobbly. And then my buddy John turned me on to these. It's a extension that has a wobbly end on it. You can see that, and what it allows you to do is now you've got some angle. So when you're trying to get down between the shock tower and the valve cover, you can get down in there because this gives you some angle to be able to do that. So these two tools are must-haves in my opinion if you're going to do spark plugs on one of these. Link in the description. And here's the actual bulletin. It is number A6B. Basically says change the spark plugs. The original ones had too much gap. Well, that's it for today. Again, I don't know why some Demon 170s had trouble with the spark plugs and some like mine had zero problems. I never had the first issue, even though they were gapped at 0.032, which according to the new information is too large. They want the gap to be between, I think he told me 0.022 and 0.028, with 0.024 being optimal. You know that's different, leave me a comment below, but that was what he said was in the information that he read, but he was doing it from memory. He did tell me he set mine to 0.024 though for sure. So a little bit tighter gap. I've run the RPMs out, romped on it a few times. It feels like it's running as good or the same as it did before. I am anxious to get it out to the track and make sure it still runs as fast as it did. That'll tell the tale. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedy's_garage, as well as the website, www.speedysgarage.net. And hopefully, I'll see you out there.